Water.
Speaking.
With a D. Water.
Okay. So, Loretta asked me to speak about one of my favorite topics, or maybe the favorite topic. I got a WhatsApp from Loretta like 11 o'clock at night 2 nights ago. Sorry about the hour. I was up. I just came back from somewhere. And Loretta asked me, will you speak, can you give a shiur about women and strength, right? So I said, women and strength? Okay, I think I could do that. And the challenge is, it's a big challenge, not because I don't have what to say about it, but because there's so much to say about it. And I have 20 minutes or 15 minutes to speak, and there's so many personalities of strong women in Tanakh, and there's so many stories about the strength of women. So I'll choose the most concentrated chapter where there are the most personalities of the strength of women. So the book of Exodus, Sefer Shmot, starts with one of the darkest times of the people of Israel, is Yetziat Mitzrayim, right? The time where, before Yetziat Mitzrayim, the time of the enslavement in Egypt, where Paro wants to really annihilate, he wants to get rid of the people of Israel. He's worried that Bnei Israel, the children of Israel, will take over his country. And then he decrees, he commands the Hebrew midwives, and he says to them, when a child is born, a Hebrew child is born, when you look at the birthing stone, what, does someone else speak about that?
No spoilers.
Should I change my topic?
You're doing
Talk
great.
about something else?
You're doing great.
I could choose a different chapter. So he says to the midwives, when you see a Hebrew child born, then if it's a male, get rid of him. And if it's a woman, a female child, let her live. So these midwives are very self-sacrificing. They are courageous. They risk their own life, and they let the children live. They have compassion on the children, and they let the children live. And Paro says to them, why did you let the children live? I decreed that you kill the male children. And they say, they make up the story, they're very wise, they're very quick, and they say, the Hebrew women, ki chayot hena, which maybe means they are like animals. They give birth in the field, we can't even get there on time, and then they're gone. So we couldn't kill the male children. Now it says there in that chapter, it's Perek Aleph, chapter 1 in Sefer Shmot, it says that these women are Yereot Elohim. In contrast of, one would think that they fear who? Pharaoh. It says that they do not, it says that they fear Elohim. They do not fear Paro, and they are willing to defy this decree of this great, powerful king. Now, if we think of what it means that they are Yereot Elohim, it doesn't say anywhere in the chapter that God commanded them not to kill the children. But what is the meaning of Yereot Elohim? That they have compassion. That is the basic meaning of Yereot Elohim. That they fear God, meaning they fear a God of mercy. They do not fear a God, Paro, who saw himself as God. So God-fearing means fearing, having compassion. It's interesting, there's another story about, if you remember, about Abraham, where his wife was taken one time by Paro, Sarah, and one time he was taken by Elimelech. And he says that she is his sister, and then Elimelech finds out, the king of Plishtim, that he is really the husband of Sarah, and he says to him, why did you not tell me? This would have been a great sin for us if one of the people would have relations with Sarah. She's a married woman. And Avram says, because I said to myself, En yirat Elohim b'makom hazeh. There's no fear of God in this place. And in that context, again, we understand fear of God means being an ethical person. Now this is the way we open the book of Shmot. Sefer Shmot is also called Sefer HaGeulah, the book of redemption. And you see, the book of redemption, there is compassion and there is strength, not by, the men in the story, but the women in the story. And then Paro sees that it doesn't work for him, and he's not able to convince the midwives to kill the male children. And then he decides on the next plan. What's his next plan? How will he get rid of the male babies? Every male child that was born, cast him into the river. And then the story says, and I'm just going to read a few psukim in chapter Bet, it says, Vayelech ish mi bet Levi, vayikach et bat Levi. It doesn't say who, but it says that a man from the house of Levi, went and he took a woman of Levi. What does it mean he took a woman of Levi? In other words, he married her. And then it says, Vatar isha vatelet ben. The woman gave birth to a child. Who's that child she gave birth to? Moshe. Now the Gemara asks, what does that mean? Vayelech ish mi bet Levi vayikach et bat Levi. What's the problem with this? Because if the father of Moshe just got married now and Moshe was born, what does that mean? Who came before? Who are the big siblings? Aaron and Miriam. So does that mean that Aaron and Miriam were born out of wedlock? You understand? Now Moshe's born after they got married. So the Gemara says that when the father, Amram, of Moshe saw that Paro decreed every child should be thrown in the water, he gave up. And he says, why are we continuing to bring children into this cursed world? He went and he separated from his wife. This is the story in the Gemara. And he was a leader. And then all of the men gave up and went and they separated from their wives as well. Comes the little child Miriam, the sister of Moshe and Aaron, and says to the father, this is before Moshe is born, says to the father, Father, your decree is more difficult than the decree of Paro. Paro decreed only on the male children. You are decreeing also on the male children, also on the women and the female children. Why? Because if the husbands leave their wives, then there will be no more children, and then there will be no future to the Jewish people, to Bnei Israel, and therefore Amram listens to his young daughter, and he comes back, and all the men come back. In this story, we see that Miriam and all the women of that generation, they exemplify hope. They exemplify vision. They care about the future, where the men in this story are listening to the voice of reason and saying, why should we bring children in this cursed world? And they leave their wives. And then the story continues and says, Vayelech ish mi bet Levi, vayikach et bat Levi, vatar isha vatelet ben. The woman gives birth to a child. Vatere oto ki tovu vatitzpeneu shlosha yerachim. She sees that he was good, and she hides the child. The mother of Moshe hides the child for 3 months. Vatere oto ki tovu. What does that mean? She saw that he was good. Every mother that her child is born, I would think that she thinks he is good. Or sometimes the translation says handsome. Every mother thinks that her child is the most beautiful child in the world. So why does the text says Vateret? She saw Kitov Hu. So Rashi says, based on the rabbis and the Midrash says, she saw that he was fit for leadership, for prophecy, for nevuah. Meaning that this mother risked not only her life, the life of all of the home, because if this child would be born just in the Holocaust, when they hid children, sometimes in a bunker, right? And if the child risking that the child will cry and the Nazis will find all the children, here the mother's risking all of the household, hiding this child, this baby, because she saw there was something special about the baby. She had the inner insight, vision, saying, against all odds, there is hope that this child will be a leader to the people. And then when she sees she can't hide him anymore, she still doesn't give up. And what does she do? She prepares for him a teva, and she puts him on the river bank. Now we think of this story, and we think of the story also of the Holocaust many times, where mothers would take their child, and they would put their child, or a father, and give the child to a monastery, or to a Gentile farmer, with the hope that that child would live. Now the next personality in this story is the sister. The sister stands from far. Now we all know that that sister is, even though she doesn't have a name here, the sister is Miriam. She stands from afar, but to see what will happen to Leida ma ya'aseh lo. Now, what is that word vatitatsav? In other words, in English, how would you translate vatitatsav? Now,
she will position herself.
So she well positioned herself, and why are you saying that? Because the translation, maybe one would think in a different way. You could say vatitatsav, that she stood there, but it doesn't say vatamod. It says vatitatsav, and when you say well positioned herself, what do you mean?
Camouflage.
Hidden.
It doesn't say hidden. It says vatitatsav, lehitiatzev. What does that mean?
She stood up.
Station yourself.
She stood
You
up.
station yourself. ולמה מתייצבים?
למען איזה אתגר.
למען
Some
איזה
challenge.
אתגר? משימה לצבא, נכון? להתייצב לצבא, להתייצב למשימה, to a challenge, to a mission. And it's standing there, steadfast, not moving. She will not move because she is guarding that child. But it's a tzav achoto with great, again, courage. Because anyone lurking there, any Egyptian passing by, could connect between her and the child. Pharaoh didn't mean for them to make a teva. He meant for them to throw the child in the water. And she's standing there with great courage. Now it's interesting, the Midrash asks this question because if you think of it, what can happen to the child? She's standing there. What can she do for the child? If an Egyptian finds him, what's going to happen to the child? He get killed. And if someone from Bnei Israel will find him, a Hebrew will find him, what will he do? There's nothing he can really do. So why is she standing there? So you could say again, against all odds, she has hope and belief. Against everything, beyond logic, she has vision and she has hope, and she says, that child is gonna be saved. That's it. It's gonna happen, and she doesn't know how. There's great hope. And she stands there waiting to see if maybe something will happen and she will be able to save her brother. Now, the Midrash says, the rabbis say in the Gemara, again about that story, they say, before Moshe was born, Miriam had a prophecy. The sister of Moshe had a prophecy. And she said, Atidaimi, my mother will give birth to a child that will redeem the people from Israel. And when the child was born, says the Gemara, the whole house was full of light. As it says, Vatera kitovu, the mother saw that something was special about this child. The whole house was full of light. The father came and kissed her on her head and said, Biti, hitkayma nevuatech, my daughter, your prophecy came true. But the minute Paro said, Kol haben hayilod hayeor tashlichu, every child that is born will be thrown in the river, her father came and spanked her on the head and said, my daughter, where is your prophecy? And that's why she stands here, to see what will come of her prophecy, because she knows she was given that prophecy and she believes it will happen. But look again, in the story, the way the rabbis portray the father in the story is that, again, Miriam's the one who has hope. She gets the prophecy. What's the prophecy? Prophecy is not fortune telling. You get prophecy if you have the vessel to accept prophecy, if you have that personality of hope. Her father, again, is the voice of reason, of Raja, of the surface. He sees something went wrong. He says, okay, we lost all hope. But Miriam stands there because she knows he's going to be saved. The third person in the story, which I think is the most amazing woman in this story, is the daughter of Pharaoh, where it says that the daughter, I'm going to read that for a second. It says, okay, Vateret bat Paro lirchotz al Yael. The daughter of Paro comes to wash herself in the river. And what happens? Vatere et ateva. Again, think of again the sight, again the inside. Vatere et ateva. She sees the teva, the box, or how do you say teva? The little boat, the ark, right? B'toch hasuf. And she sends vatishlach et amata vatikacheha. Now it's interesting, it says that she sent her amata. What does amata mean?
Her arm. Her forearm.
Okay, you say the servant and you say her arm, her forearm. Why do you say her forearm? Because ama is this part, right? And you say a servant. Now who's right?
Both.
Both are right. Now,
Judaism.
Rashi says, brings both explanations based on the rabbis, based on the Gemara. Rashi says pshat is that she sent her ama. Ama is another name for a servant. But it's interesting because the other words that are used for the servants here are ne'arot, except this time. So the Midrash Rashi brings, and he says that's Midrash says that a miracle happened, and her hand was extended that she was able to get to the riverbank. Now, if you think of it, why do they have to say that there was a miracle that happened? It's not logical. Why do they say that? So we all know, and the Rambam already explained what these miraculous or these not logical midrashim are, and he says they come to give us, it's not that we have to take it literally, but they come to give us a deeper idea and a deeper meaning. So if the rabbis, there's an explanation that says that a miracle happened and it's her hand that was extended, what do you think that means?
That what she did was miraculous.
In what way was it miraculous?
Because she's the daughter of Pharaoh and she's going against Pharaoh.
Exactly. What kind of miracle is that?
That's big one.
Or what kind of? Is it big? Is it supernatural miracle?
Supernatural. Miracles are supernatural by definition.
You know, it's interesting. I once saw in a magazine, I was sitting in the doctor's office, and I have to say that because I think it was Laisha or something, and I don't necessarily read that magazine, but I was sitting in the doctor's office, and there it was. I remember Dr. Shu, which doctor, it was, sorry, it wasn't her office, sorry.
You don't have
And
magazines.
then, oh, you don't have magazines?
No, in and out.
And there was a picture of Angelina Jolie with a black child, one of her babies, I don't know what that baby's name is, and it said in the article, Vatachmol alav. And she had compassion on the child. And it's talking about this story. And it was saying that possibly the emotional, spiritual, or how do you say, psychological miracle in Mitzrayim was even greater than the supernatural miracle of the 10 plagues or the parting of the Red Sea. Meaning, the fact that the daughter of Pharaoh, like you're saying, Harvey, the fact that the daughter of Pharaoh, the daughter of the one who decreed what he decreed, was able to have compassion on the child is a miracle. And that she extended a hand beyond race, status, color, nation, a hand of compassion, that is a miracle. And I think she is the greatest heroine in the story, because it is beyond what you would expect. The fact that she's able to see in a Jewish or Hebrew child, a child that is worth to have compassion on, is a miracle, because all of our nation, when you think how the Nazis saw Jewish children, babies, how were they able to kill babies? Because they did, how do you call that in English? In Hebrew it's called hazara. Do you know what hazara means? To distance yourself from something. Hazara, it means lafoch, dehumanize, exactly. So they dehumanized the children, and in Mitzrayim they were dehumanized. They became like insects, like it says vayishratzu. They became like shratzim. And the fact that she had compassion is the biggest surprise. Vatachmol alav. Now it says vatiftach vatireh hu et hayeled. She opens the ark and she sees the child. Now if you think of it, vatireh hu. That's a strange way of saying it. If you would want to say it in a shorter way, what would you say? Vatiftach vatireh et hayeled. And she opened it, she saw, but what is it? Vatireh hu.
Because it's this child.
Okay, so you're saying this child she saw? Now listen to what the Gemara says, and I think it's such a beautiful. What?
She saw him in a deeper way.
She saw it in a deeper way. Now, what does the Gemara say? Ra'ata shchina imo. What is shchina? God's presence. The shchina is God's imminent presence in this world. She saw the shchina in the ark. How does one see shchina? How do you see God's presence? God doesn't have a body. But I believe that what Chazal are telling us, she saw in the face of the child, a child that was born, that was created in the image of God. That is Shekhinah. If you look around the room and you look at each and every one, you know what we see? We see God in the face of every human being. As Levinas says, he says, when you look at a face of a person, that face is saying, you can't kill me, because God's light, God's image is in every person. That's how we have to look at every human being. We cannot hurt a human being. Each person is created B'Tselem Elohim, in the image of God. So when she opens that ark, Vatar Shchinaim, that's what she saw. Yeah, now you know the surprising thing is, when it says Vatered, Vatirchatz, that she goes down to wash on the river, you know what the Gemara says? That you know what she's doing? She's going lehitgayer, to convert to the mikvah.
Yeah, right. Oh.
Now what do they mean? Was there a beit in there and a mikvah? Well, what are they saying in depth? Now you know that in Chronicles, in Divrei Yamim, which is the last book in the Tanakh, it says that Bitya bat Paro left Egypt with the people of Israel.
Really?
And her name was Bitya, Batya, not Bat Paro, Bat Hashem. That was her converted name. Now what does it mean that she converted? So maybe we don't take it literally converted. Oh, thank you. What does it mean that she converted? It means she joined, she had the Jewish values of compassion. It says in the Gemara, Yarda lilchotz migilulei bet avia. She went to wash herself from the idol worship of her father. Her father believed that he was God, that he can decree who will live and who will die. And she wants to dissociate herself with those values. She, with her chemla, with having compassion, joins the Jewish values. 5 minutes out. Now, say to yourself, the daughter of Paro comes and has compassion, and Miriam right away runs and says, should I go call you a midwife? A Hebrew midwife? And she says, go. And she goes and she calls her mother, which is very clever of Miriam to turn the situation around. But if you think of it, it looks like there's so much networking going on between the women in the story, between the mother, the sister, and the daughter of Pharaoh. It's like almost the mother and the daughter had a plan. Did you think of it? Maybe there were myths and there were stories going around that the daughter of Pharaoh is not like Pharaoh, but she is a compassionate one. Maybe she's showing interest in the Jewish people. Maybe something about her face was a face of goodness. And they waited there. I mean, maybe the daughter of Pharaoh had her own beach, her own riverside. I mean, she wasn't a commoner. And they knew where she would wash. And they waited for her. And they put the baby there for her. So maybe there was a plan. But if you think of this story, what's beautiful of the story is that the strength of the women in this story is that they are working together. And I think there's strength in networking. In working together, you know, so many times people, and I say that all the time, each one guards their turf. And people don't want to work together. Every organization, every person, and we're so much stronger with unity, with each one bringing their differences to the table. And with working together, and the strength of these women in the story is that they are working together to save the child. Now, if you think of it, I don't know if you know this, you don't have the text in front of you, but no one has a name in the story. No one. It's Imo, Achoto, Ve'abat shel Paro, mother, a sister, and the daughter of Pharaoh. The only one who has a name at the end of the story is Moshe. All of what they're doing now, the key word in the story is Hayelet, which appears 7 times. 7 is a very important number in Judaism. 7. Hayelet. Meaning all of what they're doing, the women in the story, is to guard that child, self-sacrificing, having a lot of courage, and have compassion on the child, which is the ultimate future of the people of Israel. The strength of these women is not in putting people down. The strength of every human being is working together with compassion and seeing every human being. These women, by the love that they bestowed on Moshe, they created a leader, because Moshe does the same thing. When he grows up, he has compassion. He sees one brother fighting with another. He sees an Egyptian smacking another Jew, but the most important thing, when he escapes, and he is a refugee escaping, when he sees the daughter of Yitro, that the shepherds are mocking them and not letting them draw water, he helps them. And where did he learn this compassion from? The women in his life. His mother, adopted mother, and sister. And I believe that a child that was bestowed with love and honor and compassion learns to be one who pursues justice and has compassion. Now, that is the Jewish way. We say in Tfilat Shmones, Tfilat Hamidah, Ha'el, Hagadol, Hagibor, V'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim. What is the greatness of God? Not one who oppresses the people, but who does acts of love and kindness. In our story here, the ones who bring the Geulah and guard the Redeemer are the women in the story through the unity and through compassion. And just like them, and just like in the story of Ruth that we're going to be reading soon in Shavuot, they are also the strength of the women in that story, who they work together, Naomi and Ruth. And from them, from their unity, David HaMelech comes, the ultimate Redeemer of Israel. And I want to say that I thought it was so befitting to talk about that. So thank you for giving me that opportunity to talk about the strength of women, because it's always great to talk about that. But I want to say that we see in these stories that a child that is born in these stories from a mother who bestows love and kindness and compassion, that is a child that grows to be a leader. And I was thinking of the Belek family. I was thinking of you guys. I probably only know a little bit of all the great things that you did for Tikkun Olam, going to Thailand, right, after the tsunami. And did you go to Haiti also? Haiti? Oh, you didn't go? Oh, you didn't go. Oh, you did. You went. And I'm thinking of all these things of Tikkun Olam, and I'm thinking I didn't know your mother, Gloria, but I'm assuming that knowing you and your family, she must have been an incredible, strong woman who gave you guys a lot of strength. And Be'ezrat Hashem, you should have consolation and grow from strength to strength. And together, Be'ezrat Hashem, we will be zoche for Tikkun Olam in this world.
Those beautiful words. And she did give us strength. Even though she found strength somewhere in her life.
Shiur by
I know, but I think. And then you're welcome to stay.
Everyone, we're gonna do Tfilat Ba'ariv.
Is your phone here? Here.
Ah.
Oh, no, is that it?
No. Yeah. How are you? I just wanted, it was fine, I wanted to find out how long I'm supposed to speak. No, it's okay. It's Koren. Oh, it's fine. So, all right.
We're welcome if